The Babadook and its memorable monster served as a powerful debut feature for Australian director, Jennifer Kent. Dripping with allegories and deeper meaning, the Babadook's meaning touches on some darker aspects of motherhood, loss, grief, and how mental illness can create monsters all on its own. One of the most original monsters in decades, the Babadook creature design was lauded by fans of the genre. However, the Babadook movie ends on a confusing but conclusive note for its titular terror and the family he torments. The story sees single mother Amelia struggle with depression just as her son Samuel becomes obsessed with the horrifying movie monster Mr. Babadook, who he fears is real and will come for him. Eventually, the strange events that continue to happen at home find Amelia harboring increasing amounts of resentment toward her son, who she seems to blame for his father's death without reason. Their tenuous relationship, despite her displaying a protective mother's ferocity, seems to fuel the beast who has taken up residence in their home. The film plays out very much like a traditional supernatural haunting movie. The Babadook book feels right out of Ed and Lorraine Warren's collection. Mother and son must work together to overcome an evil entity in their midst, finding some grounds for personal growth along the way. However, the Babadook movie ending has sparked a fair amount of discussion from fans and critics alike when it takes a sharp turn away from genre films of a similar nature. The key areas of discussion pertain to what is Mr. Babadook, and the Babadook's true meaning. Here's the Babadook meaning explained. The Babadook represents depression. If it's in a word or in a look, you can't get rid of the Babadook. This haunting line from the story Sam finds explains the monster's deeper meaning, depression. Since Amelia's husband died in a car crash while he was transporting her to the hospital during labor, she hasn't been able to reconcile many of her emotions surrounding her grief and resentment of being unexpectedly plunged into single motherhood. Horror commonly explores themes of mental illness and trauma, such as in M. Night Shyamalan's Split, and connects one's personal, inner demons with physical ones for cinematic scares. Films like Black Swan and Jacob's Ladder were brilliant at depicting a slow descent into madness or conditions like PTSD, and the Babadook movie stands among them as an entry into how well horror can be used as a backdrop for deeper psychological issues. The Babadook's ending, explained. Since the Babadook meaning is to anthropomorphize and represent Amelia's unchallenged grief and depression, what does that say about the meaning of the Babadook's ending? After her final confrontation with the Babadook, Amelia locks him in the basement. As the story says, you can't get rid of Mr. Babadook, so she and Sam instead are forced to allow him to take up residence in their home. She brings him earthworms to eat, tending to his basic needs as she repairs her relationship with her son. Like Stephen King adaptation Shining Vale, the Babadook ending is a commentary on how people who struggle with mental illness, especially depression, often have to live with their inner demons and hardships by trying to keep them at bay instead of extinguishing them once and for all. This is the deeper the Babadook meaning, that overcoming one's demons often means finding ways to endure them rather than expel them. Why the Babadook's ending is perfect and never needs a sequel. The Babadook was released in 2014. Almost a decade later, there's still no sequel, despite calls for one from some fans. However, Jennifer Kent, the Australian filmmaker behind the movie, has been right not to make a follow-up. The Babadook is one of those rare movies that got the ending completely right with almost zero legitimate criticisms. There was closure, it felt satisfactory, and it avoided any needless cliffhanger teases, rare for any movie, but especially in a twist-heavy genre like horror, as more recent films like The Wretched prove. There are no plans for a Babadook 2, and most audiences and critics maintain it should stay that way. The understanding that developed between monster and victim at the ending was poignant, but a sequel would mean that the peace Amelia made with the Babadook didn't last. Since the whole movie is a metaphor for depression and learning to accept and live with those demons, spinning the Babadook out into a horror franchise would irreparably cheapen the movie's ending and central meaning. What director Jennifer Kent expressed with The Babadook ultimately, the Babadook meaning is that issues such as depression and grief have to be dealt with through acceptance rather than by attempting to totally banish negative thoughts or emotions, a message oddly similar to Pixar's Inside Out. In an interview, via The Guardian, the Babadook director Jennifer Kent describes the purpose of the film as tackling difficult themes. I wanted to talk about the need to face the darkness in ourselves and in our lives. That was the core idea for me, to take a woman who'd really run away from a terrible situation for many years and have to face it. The horror is really just a byproduct. Kent drew on her experience working with Danish art house director Lars von Trier to create a domestic atmosphere full of dread, mirroring Amelia's depression. In the story of the Babadook, Amelia's depression stems from the death of her husband, but it also resonates with experiences of postpartum depression and other types of mental health issues. Similarly, Sam's fascination with the monster reflects the difficult experience of encountering death and adult troubles for the first time as a child, similar to its Pennywise the Clown. All of Amelia and Sam's efforts to suppress the Babadook seem to only strengthen it, demonstrating how grief and other negative emotions must be valued rather than entirely suppressed if one is to truly move forward. Other viewers have found the Babadook's themes of trying to suppress hidden darkness relevant to their experience or identity. Some autistic viewers and family members have empathized with the central character's attempts at maintaining normalcy by burying elements of the self that they are scared of, a connection strengthened by Sam displaying autistic traits such as his obsessions and social difficulties. The Babadook has also been embraced as a semi-ironic LGBTQ icon, with the story's theme of embracing uncomfortable emotions resonating with queer audiences. While these interpretations may not have been Jennifer Kent's original intention, they suggest the richness of the central metaphor of the Babadook's ending.
With a gentle touch you tell me